Hi, my name is Josh, and this is my story. I grew up as a preacher's kid, pretty much went to church my whole life, every Sunday and Wednesday for Awana. Read the Bible, prayed every day, even invited some of my classmates to come to Awana with me. By age 9, I asked Jesus to be my Savior and got baptized. And unfortunately, I also was witness to some of the ugly side of church politics that can happen. And from about 9 to 15, we moved around to a couple different churches for a couple different reasons. And I really didn't see that as anything good, and I saw that as God just kind of taking me away from my friends. By 16, we moved down to Des Moines, and I went to Des Moines Christian School, and we started going to a church here, but I really didn't like it, and I was very bitter, so I asked my parents if I could just stop going to church. I graduated high school, and I started to get into drugs and alcohol, and right after high school, I moved to Denver, and I really got into a lot of drinking and doing things I shouldn't have been doing. That didn't go very well for me, and I ended up having to come home because I was broke. I came home and didn't really change my ways at all. In fact, I probably got worse. And eventually, I ended up saving enough money to move to California, where things got really bad, to a point where I was drinking every single day. And eventually, after 4 years there, I ran out of money yet again and had to come home. After I moved home, I got a job at the hospital and met my wife Jackie and her 3-year-old son Braden. As we started to date, I knew things were pretty serious, and so I knew I'd have to stop drinking. A couple months later, I quit drinking, and I knew that I was going to have a future with her, so I proposed to her, we got married, and I adopted Braden. About a year later, we had another son, and we still didn't do much with church. We just kind of would go to church to appease my dad for holidays or surprises, but eventually we just stopped doing that as often. He retired from the ministry and started to come to Willow Creek, and he invited us out for the Easter extravaganza last year. So we came out, and the kids had a great time, and so we started coming here as our special surprise and gift time. And in November of 2016, Jackie and I started talking about coming to church more often for Braden. And I remember asking him if he wanted to do that, and he was ecstatic about coming. So we started coming more often, told my parents we'd be there every week now instead of just for surprises or special occasions. And that meant that Jackie and I would talk about the sermons, look up verses for Braden, and help him with what he needed for Awana. About then, we decided a couple months later that we wanted to do a starting point class together. We started to do that, and as I looked at the Stranger book and started to read my Bible more often, things started to fall into place for me, and I really questioned the rebellion that I had for so many years. In the beginning of starting point class, they ask you the question, if you were to get into heaven, what would be your reason, or why should you be allowed in? And I remember I thought I was pretty confident in my answer, but as I started to read the Stranger and more of my Bible, and the things started to make more sense to me, I started to realize that I didn't have the answers figured out as I thought. I knew Jesus died for my sins, but I didn't understand the righteousness that I needed to get all the way there. At that point, I think that is when it really changed for me. That is when I finally understood what I needed to understand, and I hadn't understood it in my youth because I was so young and because I gave up so early and had rebelled for so long. Since all of this started making sense to me, I've noticed a lot of changes in my life. Well, I don't drink anymore. I pray every day. I pray for not just myself, but for my family, my friends that don't believe still, because I have plenty of those. My friends that do, that they can be at peace with everything that God has in store for us. I guess the greatest blessing is my family. I wouldn't have my family if it wouldn't be for the sovereignty of God. And just the change in my life and the changes that I can look forward to. God is holy, I am sinful, Jesus saves, and by faith he is mine.